Welcome to this first episode of Bite-Size Angular, where we're going to see 5 Angular CLI tricks in just a few minutes. The first trick I want to talk about is the dry run option. With this option, what's going to happen is that when we run an Angular CLI command, it's actually not going to do everything. It's just going to tell us what would happen if we ran that command. So it's a perfect option if you want to first make sure that the naming or that the files that are going to be created are consistent with what you expect. Trick number 2 is when you create a new project with Angular CLI, you can specify this -- routing option. And what this is going to do is that it's going to create an app routing module.ts file that is already prepared so you can add your routes easily. And this module is already wired up in the main app module.ts as well. So you get your default routing file created for you by Angular CLI. Trick number 3 is that when you want to generate a component or a service, and in case you don't want a unit test generated with it, you can pass this option spec equals false to the command. And in that case, it would just generate the component without any unit test. As you can see here, only the component files are generated, no spec.ts. And this leads us to trick number 4, the schematics options. In angular.json, we can set some specific schematics options for Angular CLI. So in my case, if I wanted that every time I generate a component, I don't get any test spec generated, I could just set the spec option to false right here so that I don't have to do it with every single command. And of course, this does not apply only to spec. There's many different options that we can set from here. If you want to get the list of all of these options, there is a schema file that is provided on the Angular CLI GitHub page. And in here, for instance, if I want to get to the schematics, more specifically for a component, I can click on the component section and it's going to tell me all of the options I can set. So I can customize the change detection option, what kind of prefix to use for the component. Do we want a flat structure, meaning no specific directory for that component? And we also get the default value that Angular CLI uses if we don't specify anything. And trick number 5 and final trick for today is that when you run tests, because I don't want you to think that I'm against tests because of my previous tricks, when you run unit tests, you can actually get a code coverage report for free with Angular CLI, just by passing this -- code coverage option. And what this does is that it creates a coverage folder within your project where you're going to have an HTML report generated every time your tests run. And this is what this report looks like. You can get the info about code coverage of all of your lines of code, statements, branches, functions, and pretty much everything. So again, just using this code coverage option and you get all of that for free with Angular CLI. Thanks for your attention. This was 5 Angular CLI tricks from angulartraining.com.